Hello, welcome to the News Desk this week with me, Chris Stafford, alongside Nancy Gillen, as usual, in London. And this is Season 4, Episode 17 already, and it is May the 11th that we are recording. Because Nancy, you've got a tight schedule today, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying it feels like life is just very busy at the moment, doesn't it? And yeah, another busy week and off up to Manchester tomorrow. Everyone can see in the next couple of weeks. I won't give it away. You have to stay tuned, but do some filming with a very big, talented women's football player. So yeah, really looking forward to doing that tomorrow.
Good. Okay. Well, they can find that, of course, on givemesportwomen.com,
yep.
Right?
That's right. Yeah.
Well, that's where you write. Okay. Well, we'll look forward to that story. So let's crack on with the news this week, then, Nancy, because there. As usual, there's some great stories. Obviously it's seasonal too, because the WSL has just wrapped up its season in the UK, and we're just kicking off, literally, with NWSL here. We've started, but we're getting back to the full season. We just had the Challenge Cup this past weekend, so we'll talk about that. But I want to start with the W Series, motor racing series, Nancy, because we talked a lot about this last year, the W Series, which was really gaining momentum. No pun intended here. But, of course, the star of the show seems to be Jamie Chadwick right now, and she came out with a double win in Miami, the season opener, and she ended the season as champion last year. She seems to be the one that they're all chasing. She has the target on her back this season, doesn't she?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, she's won 2 W Series titles already. I think she's touted as the one that if any female driver currently goes up to F1, it will be her. And yeah, she got the new season off to a really, really good start by winning the double header in Miami. I think despite her winning both races, I think it still was really, really close. I think Nerea Marti and Alice Powell, who Alice Powell finished runner-up last season, they were also on the podiums as well. So yeah, I think even though Chadwick won both races, there is still, those opponents that are right behind her. But yeah, it was great to see the start of the W Series again. It is, I think, a really kind of exciting competition, especially, with the fact that they run in partnership with the Formula One as well. And so, yeah, the next race, if anyone wants to catch it, will be in Barcelona on the 20th and the 21st of May, so the weekend after next. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing who wins that one and whether Chadwick can continue her winning streak. Yeah,
as I say, she's the one to beat right now, but it is very close. I was watching some of that race, and it's super tight. It really is. You should mention some of the other names we should look out for there, Nancy, because there's a lot of other really, really good riders chasing her. Drivers, not riders, drivers.
Yeah, so you've got Marty and Powell. I think Abby Pulling is another British driver who's really young but has been tipped for a lot of success. Emma Kimelainen, I think is how you say her surname. She also is another good driver. She was doing really well in the race in Miami, actually. I think one of the races she was third for basically the whole race. And then I think had a slight not crash, but got knocked a little bit, and then she finished 5th overall.
Damaged the rear end a little bit, but not enough. I mean, it just made her spin, and she was able to continue. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it wasn't, didn't knock her out the race, but it did push her out with a podium place. Belen Garcia is another good driver. So yeah, there's a lot of drivers to keep an eye out for. Yeah, there certainly is. And you've got another piece of motor racing news, women making history in Le Mans 24 hours.
Yeah, so this is a very exciting news story about an all-female team racing at Le Mans 24 hours, which is taking place next month in June. So Michelle Gatting is part of the all-women crew, and she's going to be accompanied by Rahel Frey and Sarah Bovey, and their team is going to be the Iron Dames. So yeah, I think it's but obviously motorsport is a very male-dominated kind of environment to be in. So having an all-female team is really good. So Gatting gave an interview to Sky Sports. It's well worth a read if you're interested in the story. And she said the project's a unique project, and she's honoured to be a part of it. And also talked a bit about Formula One again, talking about the potential of a female F1 driver. And she kind of linked the project of having an all-female team at Le Mans with inspiring more women to get into motorsport and hopefully progressing up to Formula One themselves. So, yeah, a really kind of inspiring story there. And, yeah, recommend reading the full interview if anyone's interested in it.
Yeah, we'll put a link to the show notes, as always, to the stories that we cover here at wisports.com. Just go and check out the episode page, which will be on the front page, wisports.com. You have to wonder what Susie Wolff is thinking, Toto Wolff's wife, who used to be, a driver herself. She's now in management with her husband's team, but she'd be watching these young drivers coming along and wondering, who will be the first to be driving in Formula One when you see so many talented drivers coming through.
Yeah, I think as well, I think there was a lot of frustration when it was announced that Chadwick was going to be competing in W Series again this season, because I think a lot of people thought she should be progressing into the, F2 or F3 or and I think it's almost like a financial side of it. That's what Chadwick has suggested, which is a bit of a frustrating obstacle. But yeah, hopefully as female motorsport races and, stuff like the W Series gets more prolific, that can kind of be, resolved, and we can have more women in F1 and even F2 and F3 as well.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we're going to move on to a horsepower of a different nature now. We've got a couple of stories from equestrian sport, and one of which was the Badminton Horse Trials, which took place in Gloucestershire last weekend, and it produced the first win of that title for Laura Collett, the British rider, who's been a stalwart of the British team now for a number of years. She started in ponies and on the junior team, so this was a dream come true for her, because she won what is the most prestigious 5-star event in certainly in Europe. One of them certainly in England, it's the only one in the spring season, and then you've got Burghley in the fall. But this was a huge win for her, and she won ahead of Ross Cantor. So the women were 1-2 there. It was great to see everybody back there, Nancy, after they took 2 years off because of COVID. And finally, the crowds were back, and the sport was back at its finest. And I think they saw crowds of 180,000 visitors during that event. It's the highest spectator attendance of sport in the UK, second to Formula One. So pretty impressive there that they managed to retain the crowds. It's a very, very popular event, but now it's all pre-sold tickets. You can't get a ticket on the day. You have to buy tickets online, which seems to be the way to go now with what we've learnt from COVID. So a very, very successful event and a huge win there for Laura. So congratulations, Laura. But I should just point out there was one or two falls, Nancy, and one particularly we should mention and send positive energy to Laura's teammate, Nicola Wilson, who took rather a bad fall, and she's still in hospital in Bristol with injuries to her vertebrae, but she is conscious and breathing alone. So hopefully, she pulls through and she'll get back on the horse, as they say, before too much longer. But it sounds like she's got some damage to her vertebrae from that really bad rotational fall that she had on cross-country day. So good luck to Nicola. And I also want to mention a show jumping story, because Canada's Beth Underhill, she's now 59 years old, and she won't mind me telling you, she's one of the veterans of the team, has been a stalwart of the Canadian show jumping team for a number of years. She won the Le Ball €500,000 Rolex Grand Prix on Sunday, which was a huge win for her and for Canada. and especially good form for her because on Friday she contributed to the team's third place in the Nations Cup with a double clear round. So a fantastic weekend for her, on terrific form. And now those riders, those top teams, will head to Rome for the Rome CSIO, the 5-star event in show jumping, which takes place the last weekend. I think it's 26th to the 29th of May. So that's another prestigious show jumping event on the spring calendar. And of course, all eyes will be on selection for the World Championships, which take place in Herning in Denmark in August now. So I know that was one thing that Beth will be hoping for, to keep that kind of form and get selected for the World Championships. So we're going to turn now to football.
Yeah, well, I think maybe we start with Chelsea winning the Women's Super League at the weekend. That was quite a dramatic finale to the season. It went to the final weekend with either Chelsea or Arsenal being able to win the title. Chelsea were 1 point ahead, so all they had to do was win. But if they drew or lost and Arsenal won, then Arsenal would win the title. And there was 1 point at the weekend where that looked likely to happen because Chelsea were playing Man U and they were 2-1 down, 1-0 down and 2-1 down at one point. And Arsenal eventually defeated West Ham 2-0. But unfortunately for Arsenal fans, such as myself, Chelsea came back and beat Man U 4-2. So won their third successive WSL title, which is very, very impressive. But I think it's important to note that the majority of seasons, well, one was the league was ended early because of COVID and it was decided by points per game. Then last season, they won the league by 1 point, and similar to this season. So even though Chelsea have won, it's been really, really close, which is good because it shows that the WSL is becoming really competitive. But yeah, so great for Chelsea fans, not so great for Arsenal fans. But there was some good news for Arsenal fans because The Athletic have reported that Vivian Miedema, the Dutch striker, is set to stay at Arsenal for another year, which is quite unexpected. This has been probably, in my opinion, one of the biggest transfer sagas that have gone on in women's football. It's quite like the ones that happen in men's football, which is good because I think it shows, growing interest in women's football. But yes, Miedema, her contract was up at the end of the season and she'd been really heavily linked to Barcelona. So much so that there was a lot of reporting last week that she'd already decided that she was going to move to Barcelona. But yeah, The Athletic have revealed that there was content being filmed at the Emirates to announce the contract extension, and that should be revealed later this week. So yeah, I think all Arsenal fans are crossing their fingers that they'll be able to keep Miedema for another year. She is a really prolific goal scorer. She's the Women's Super League's all-time leading goal scorer, having scored 72 goals. So just for the league in general, I think it's great if a player with that status stays and is playing week in, week out. So yeah, a mixed week for Arsenal fans, but yeah, quite a significant one for women's football in general.
It certainly was. And let's not forget that incredible goal by Sam Kerr for Chelsea. Yeah, definitely. It was, if no one's seen it, her second goal in that 4-2 win, so it was Chelsea's fourth, was pretty extraordinary. It was, controlled it on her chest, turned and volleyed it straight into the back of the net. So yeah, if you haven't seen that, definitely give it a watch because it is brilliant. It is all over social media, but that really speaks to her timing and spatial awareness to be able to do that and in a volley, with a volley.
Yeah, just her instinct as to where the goal is as well. To just turn and shoot. She knows where the goal is all the time. So yeah, she is a talent as well. That's another reason we want Miedema to stay, because watching her and Kerr and Miedema battle it out for the Golden Boot is always exciting.
Yes, for sure. Well, over here, as you know, it was the Challenge Cup final on Saturday, and Saturday over here in this part of the country was a particularly wet Saturday. It was just pouring rain the whole day. I have really had to give into it because there's no way I was going to do anything outdoors. So I watched badminton horse trials, and then I watched the cup the Challenge Cup. And then I watched something else in the evening. I think there were about 3 different sporting events on that day. So it was quite, at least I had plenty to watch. But I did watch all of the Challenge Cup, and the Washington Spirit, which is my local team, they got beaten by the North Carolina Courage by 2-1. But what came out of that was some really nasty injuries, Nancy. I know we talked about them, and we just hope that Jordan Baggett, who took a really nasty crash and was stretchered off. I believe she's conscious and she's on the road to recovery, but I haven't heard any details of that. You saw that, didn't you, on video?
Yeah, I did, and I saw the players like running on the pitch with a stretcher as well, which didn't seem great because they didn't seem that prepared for a serious injury. You want medical attention straight away, so yeah, quite shocking.
Yeah, and earlier Aubrey Kingsbury, formerly Aubrey Bledsoe, who's an NWST goalie, she crashed with the goalpost, really, really nasty, diving for a save and hit her head. It seemed to bounce off the goalpost, and we thought she was going to have to come off, but she didn't, and hopefully she still is okay. But that was a really, really nasty bump to the head, and there were a few other little crashes in the latter part of the game, but it all went North Carolina's way, and so they've won that title 2-1 then now, so we're back to normal NWSL scheduling. On this weekend, Angel City come over, the new extension team. They come over from the West Coast and will play the Washington Spirit at the Audi Field on Sunday. Be nice if I could go. Wouldn't that be? That would be quite a game, I think, Nancy. Yeah,
it'd be brilliant. I actually am really tempted to come out at some point to California and watch Angel City, because that opening match with the crowd and the atmosphere, it looked brilliant.
Extraordinary, huh?
Yeah, and I just like the story behind the club, to be honest. I think it's really cool.
Fantastic. I mean, for women, too. For women's sports and for women who are not into soccer, who are into other things in life, have got behind this team and financed them and supported them. And, as you say, tremendous crowd, tremendous atmosphere. So I wonder if they will bring that to the Audi Field here in Washington, D.C. on Sunday. We will see. All right, we're going to move to tennis because I want to mention Emma Rodicano, the British player, Nancy. You saw that she got injured and she had to retire against Bianca Andreescu the other day at the Italian Open because of back injury. So she's still having some niggles here that are really impeding her at the start of the season.
Yeah, it's a real shame, and it's like you said, it's really stopping her from playing. It seems to be that she'll have, especially she's seemed really impressive on clay at the start anyway, at the Stuttgart Open. She had a good run at the Madrid Open and got to the round of 16, I think it was. But it seems like she plays like 2 to 3 matches and then that just completely wipes out her body. And yeah, I mean, if you look at the record since her even before her US Open win, to be honest, because she did also retire from Wimbledon, but her retirement rate is incredibly high. Like she, it's her hip, or she has really bad blisters on her hands and feet, or stiff back. I think stiff back also forced her to retire from or lose at the Miami Open. So yeah, the same has happened again at the Italian Open. So yeah, I think she's talked about a bit about, like learning when it's right to push her body and push through it and when it's not. And that's kind of what she's learning at these tournaments. I think it's really interesting that she was playing Andreescu as well, because there's a lot of parallels between those two players, like not just because they've got Romanian heritage and both won the US Open when they were teenagers, but also the way that after Andreescu won the US Open, she really struggled, and particularly with injuries as well. Like you'd only say now that she's, and even then, there probably hasn't been a sustained enough period of her playing well to say that she's fully back in form. So she's kind of like, if anyone knows what Rodicano is trying to kind of overcome and deal with, it's Andreescu. So yeah, really kind of interesting. I think Rodicano will still be playing at the French Open, which is the next Grand Slam. I hope she is anyway. But yeah, I think for her to be a top tennis player, she is 100% gonna have to get fitter and also find a way to kind of not let these fitness issues and injury kind of struggles overwhelm her.
Yeah, and of course she had a bit of a setback because she got COVID, didn't she? So she had a delay to the start of the season for her fitness.
Yeah, and I mean, we all know how COVID it can really, tire you out and have long-term impacts. It's not just like a cold that you have for a week. So potentially that's also been a factor in it. But yeah, I think ultimately, obviously she won the US Open, but she's still like a 19-year-old on the WTA tour for her first, like her debut season, really. And everything that comes with that. So hopefully she doesn't let it kind of get to her and she could just learn basically this year. I'm not really expecting her to win much this year at all. And then hopefully next season when she comes back and she can take everything she's learned this season and apply it to next year and, maybe follow more of a path of Iga Swiatek than Andreescu, where, you win a Grand Slam, you have a year or two learning, and then you do what Swiatek has done and just completely dominate. So yeah, I wish her the best of luck. I really do hope that she can overcome this, because as we saw at the US Open, when she is like fully fit, she is a brilliant tennis player.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, as you say, she's 19, so she's not fully mature and as strong as she could be. She'll just get better and better, that's for sure. So good luck to Emma, and hopefully she will be on good form and ready for the French Open. Yeah, it's all happening. Once it starts over there with Madrid and then Italy, and then they go to France and it's Wimbledon before you know it. And the season has picked up some momentum now, so good luck to her. We will be following that story, of course, right here at withsports.com. Well, Nancy, you've got some good news, some more record viewing figures.
Yeah, this was really good news to come out of the UK last week. So the Women's Sports Trust did some analysis, like a report into the amount of people watching women's sport on TV, and yeah, the stats are actually quite incredible. So a record 15.1 million people watch women's sport in the first 3 months of 2022. This is nearly triple the 5.06 million from the first quarter of 2021. And the previous record had been a 10.2 million set in 2019. So yeah, that 15.1 million, that is quite extraordinary. And yeah, I think if you just read a lot of the stats, it's all positive. So 1 in 3 viewers have tuned in on 3 or more occasions in 2022, in comparison to 17% in the same period last year. So the Women's Super League is the most watched competition, making up 58% of viewership. But Women's Six Nations, the Arnold Clark Cup, and the Women's Cricket World Cup are among the other most watched events. So yeah, it's really positive. I think as well, like obviously a large part of the amount of people watching more women's sport is probably to do with the availability, the increased availability of women's sport on TV. It's like, it's chicken and egg, isn't it? And now that they've put more women's sport on TV, people are watching it. It just shows that the audience is there. So yeah, I think that's must be very satisfying for especially people at Sky Sports who are showing the WSL and the Cricket World Cup as well. That it's worth them doing this, and hopefully it encourages other broadcasters to do the same for other women's sports events as well. And of course bodes really well for the Euros as well this summer. Hopefully it means that there's already a big audience willing to watch that tournament on TV when it starts in July.
Oh, yes, that's a little event you're looking forward to, I know.
Yep.
Well, that's great news. It just speaks to that old adage that, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, we've got a story to end with this week, which actually does step backwards for women's sports in a way, or for women working in sport. And really sad to see that a TV presenter walked out of sports awards over sexism. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so this is, like you said, a very shocking story. So Eilidh Barbour was a guest at the Scottish Football Writers Association, which happened at the weekend. And her table and another table walked out during the main speaker, like the guest note speaker, who was basically a guy called Bill Copeland, who's a lawyer who works on the after dinner speaking circuit. So it seems like quite a random choice anyway. But apparently the jokes he made were sexist, racist and homophobic. And prompted two whole tables to walk out. And afterwards, Barbara tweeted that she's never felt so unwelcome in the industry I work in than sitting at the Scottish Football Writers Awards, a huge reminder that there is still so much to do in making our game an equal place. So, the Scottish Football Writers Association have apologised for it, and they say that they're going to review and improve the format of the annual dinner. But it's just pretty shocking, I think, that, there hasn't been a repeat of the words that were and the jokes that were being made, but obviously to cause two whole tables to walk out it was obviously horrendous. And I just don't really understand why in this day and age where you've got it, it's never acceptable, but when you've got so many more like women and sport is so much more diverse and inclusive that someone thinks it's acceptable to do that. It's pretty shocking. And again, I think as well that I think it was the point was made that two tables walked out, but there were loads of other tables there. A lot of people were laughing at the jokes as well, which is also very dispiriting. So hopefully there can be some good from this incident and it can, bring about change. But it's not something that you'd want to experience as a woman working in sport.
No, and it looked like there were mostly men there anyway. I did see that the incident was part of a wider problem in sports journalism, where there are only 3 out of 95 staff writers in the print side of the industry were women. Yeah, that's quite a shocking stat. Yeah, it really is. I'm, sorry to read that. And hopefully they can get past this and do something about it. Create, constructively. Yeah, that's what you'd hope. Just kind of take it positive from a bad situation, maybe. Yeah, make it into a much better situation so women feel more welcome. That's appalling. All right, well, as always, that story and all the others that we've covered will be at withsports.com. And we urge you to just pop over there and read some of them because, as Nancy said, some of these stories are well worth reading. If you support women's sports, as we do, Nancy, I think that's about it for this week. And I know you've got to run and catch a train, so I don't want to hold you up here, but have we left you in good time to do that? No, it's a good time. No worries. It's it's all part and parcel of it, of being a sports journalist, isn't it? Running around everywhere. That's right. All right. What are you looking forward to sports-wise this weekend? Oh, it's the FA Cup, Women's FA Cup final on Sunday between Chelsea and City. And then, probably seeing how the Italian Open plays out and the start of the French Open, really. I feel like there's something else as well, but I can't remember. But Women's FA Cup final, I'll be going to that on Sunday. You're going, are you? Fun. Yeah, I've been invited to sit in hospitality, actually. So. Oh, look at you. Very fancy. So remind everybody where it is and who's playing. So it's at Wembley and it's between Chelsea and Manchester City. So, a good match. I think it's 2:30 on Sunday. Okay. All right. Well, we'll look out for that. Hopefully it will be screened over here too, even if it's delayed live. I guess Chelsea a favourite on the current form? I think so, but they played in the League Cup final a few months ago and City won. So I wouldn't be that surprised if City did it again. So, we'll have to see. All right. Okay, you'll bring us a report next week, I'm sure, on the show. We will be back next Wednesday with another episode of the With Sports Desk. Nancy, have a great trip up to Manchester. We look forward to hearing that story too when that goes live at givemesportwomen.com. Remind everyone where you are on social media. Yeah, so my personal handle is Nancy_Gillen on Twitter and Nancy_Gillen_sport on Instagram. And then, if you want to follow Give Me Sport on Twitter, it's at GiveMeSportW. All right. Well, thanks as always, Nancy. We're at withsports.com and at withsports on social media, so do follow us there. And do post your comments and questions and suggestions for any guests or any stories you think we should be covering here too. We always love to hear from you. So until next week, I'm Chris Stafford alongside Nancy Gillen, and we'll see you down the road for more news from women's sports next week. Thanks for listening.